The communication room was dark, except for the red emergency lights. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in front of the camera, her face showing the scars from 3 years of war. Behind her, through the broken windows, Earth was burning. The cities that once held billions of people were now nothing but glass craters that glowed in the dark. Sarah looked straight into the camera. Her hands did not shake, even though she knew this would be the last message humanity would ever send to the galaxy. The Galactic Empire had won. Their ships filled the sky like metal clouds, and their weapons had turned Earth's greatest cities into melted ruins. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Federation," she said. Her voice was calm and cold. "I am speaking to all members of the Galactic Empire. This is humanity's final warning." She paused and looked at the datapad in her hand. The numbers were terrible. New York was gone. Tokyo, Delhi, Sao Paulo, all turned to glass and ash. The Empire called it a pacification campaign, but Sarah knew the truth. They had tried to wipe out every human being in the galaxy. "You came to our worlds 3 years ago," Sarah continued. "You said we were too dangerous to live. You said humans were violent and could not be trusted. You were right about one thing. We are dangerous. But you made one big mistake." Outside the window, another Empire ship passed by, its weapons charged with blue light, ready to finish what they had started. Sarah did not look away from the camera. "You should have killed us all when you had the chance," she said. "Now you have left some of us alive, and we have nothing left to lose." The communication array was the last working piece of technology on Earth. Dr. Marcus Webb had rebuilt it from broken parts, hiding it deep underground while the Empire ships burned everything above. He stood behind Sarah now, his fingers moving over the controls to send the message across all known frequencies. "We know you think this war is over," Sarah said. "You think you have won because our fleet is destroyed and our colonies are ash. You think we are finished because most of our people are dead. But you do not understand humans very well." The Empire had studied humanity for years before they attacked. Their scientists had put humans in a category they called aggressive but contained. They thought humans were good fighters, but too stupid to work together on big plans. They thought wrong. "The truth is, you never fought humans before," Sarah said. "You fought our military. You fought our government. You fought our civilization. But now all of that is gone. Now you are fighting something much worse. Now you are fighting human beings who have watched their children burn and have nothing left to protect." The message was going out to every corner of the galaxy. Every Empire ship, every Empire world, every Empire leader would hear these words. "We are giving you 72 standard hours," Sarah said. "Remove all Empire forces from what used to be human space. Leave our dead worlds alone. Go back to your core systems and never return." She stepped closer to the camera. The scars on her face were from the day the Empire had bombed her home city. She had been trapped under burning metal for 6 hours before rescue teams found her. Her family had not been so lucky. "If you do not leave in 72 hours, your worlds will burn as ours have burned," Sarah said. "We have spent 3 years preparing for this moment. We have built something that will make you understand what it feels like to watch everything you love turn to ash." Behind her, the last few human technicians worked at their stations. They were the survivors, the ones who had been off-world or deep underground when the Empire began their attack. Each of them had lost everything: family, friends, homes, entire ways of life. But they had not lost their anger. "You probably think this is just talk from a broken enemy," Sarah said. "You probably think we are too weak and too few to threaten your great empire. You have thousands of worlds. You have billions of ships. You have ruled the galaxy for longer than human civilization has existed." She smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had seen too much death and no longer cared about her own life. "But we are humans," she said, "and humans have a gift. When you push us far enough, when you take away everything we care about, we become the most dangerous thing in the universe. We become humans with nothing to lose." The message timer showed 60 seconds left. Soon the Empire would find this hidden base and destroy it like they had destroyed everything else. But the warning would already be spreading across the galaxy. 72 hours, Sarah repeated. "After that, you will learn why every species in the galaxy should fear the day they make humans desperate. Your worlds will burn, your sons will die, and your children will learn to fear the dark spaces where stars used to shine." She looked directly into the camera one last time. "This is not a threat. This is a promise. We are coming for you." The transmission ended. In the silence that followed, Sarah could hear the Empire ships circling overhead. Soon they would break through the last defenses and find this place. But it did not matter anymore. The message was sent. Dr. Webb touched her shoulder. "It's done, Admiral," he said. "Every Empire frequency in the galaxy just received our warning. How long until they find us here?" "Maybe an hour. Maybe less." "Good," Sarah said. "That gives us time to make sure the final preparations are ready. Contact all remaining cells and tell them to begin Phase 2. As Empire weapons began to burn through the roof above them, Sarah thought about her daughter, who had died in the first attack. She thought about her husband, who had been vaporized, defending their home city. She thought about the billions of humans who would never see another sunrise. The Empire had wanted to end humanity. Soon, they would learn that humans could return the favor. Governor Prime Zalthek sat in his command chair on the bridge of the Empire flagship. The huge ship floated above Earth's burned surface like a metal moon. Through the main viewing screen, he could see the planet below, once blue and green, now mostly gray and black, with spots of glowing red where the biggest cities used to be. "Report," Zalthek ordered. Commander Vextai looked up from his data screen. "The human transmission has been received on all frequencies across the Empire. Our intelligence division is analyzing it now." Zalthek made a sound that might have been laughter in his species. "What can their intelligence tell us that we do not already know? The humans are finished. Their fleet is destroyed. Their colonies are glass, and their homeworld is a burnt rock. Sir, they are giving us 72 hours to withdraw from this sector." "Or what?" Zalthek asked. "They will attack us with their non-existent ships? They will invade us with their dead armies." The Empire had been studying humans for 20 years before the invasion began. They had sent spy ships to watch human worlds. They had captured human soldiers and studied their minds. They had learned everything they thought they needed to know. Humans were violent, yes. They were also creative and stubborn. But the Empire had faced violent species before. They had conquered creative species. They had broken stubborn peoples. Humans were just another entry in their long list of defeated enemies. "What do our files say about remaining human military assets?" Zalthek asked. Commander Vextai brought up the intelligence reports. 17 damaged ships of various sizes. Maybe 3,000 trained soldiers scattered across different locations. Several underground bases, but nothing that poses a real threat. And their technology level? Primitive by our standards. They barely had faster-than-light travel when we found them. Their weapons are simple projectile and energy systems. They have no planet-killing weapons, no stellar manipulation technology, no quantum displacement capabilities. Zalthek nodded. This matched everything he knew about humans. They were like children playing with sharp sticks, thinking they could fight trained warriors with advanced weapons. What about their leaders? Most are dead. This Admiral Chan appears to be one of the last military commanders. Dr. Marcus Webb is their chief scientist, but our analysis shows he specializes in basic engineering, not advanced weapons development. On the screen, another section of Earth's surface glowed briefly as one of the cleanup crews finished destroying a hidden human base. The Empire was very thorough. They always were. Sir, Vextai said, should we be concerned about their threat? Commander, in the past 1,000 years, the Empire has conquered over 300 species. Many of them made similar threats when they were defeated. None of those threats ever came to anything. But far from the Empire fleet, in a hidden asteroid base, Dr. Marcus Webb was not acting like a defeated enemy. He moved quickly between workstations, where the remaining human scientists were busy with something the Empire's intelligence had missed completely. How long until the stellar destabilizers are ready? Webb asked. Dr. Lisa Park looked up from her calculations. Her face was thin from 3 years of living on emergency rations, but her eyes were bright with focused anger. 18 more hours for the final calibrations. Are you sure this will work? Webb nodded. The Empire's own technology reports gave us everything we needed. We just have to hold out until then. They were so proud of their stellar manipulation systems that they included detailed technical specifications in their public scientific databases. They never imagined a primitive species could understand them. The asteroid base was one of 12 hidden locations where humanity's survivors had been working for 3 years. Not on building more ships or training more soldiers. The Empire was right that such efforts would be useless. Instead, they had been working on something much more dangerous. The Empire made 2 big mistakes, Webb said to the room full of scientists and engineers. First, they assumed that because we do not have their advanced technology, we could not understand it. Second, they assumed that because we are not as smart as they are, we could not be more desperate. Dr. James Morrison, who had been working on quantum calculations for 16 hours straight, looked up from his screens. The test runs show a 96% success rate for stellar collapse induction. We can make their suns die. Webb smiled, but like Admiral Chen's smile, it was not happy. The Empire thinks they know humans because they studied our military and our government. But they never studied what humans do when they have nothing left to lose. Back on the Empire flagship, Zalthek was receiving reports from across the former human territory. Sir, we have found and destroyed 6 more human bases in the past 4 hours. Resistance continues to be minimal. Any sign of these weapons they threatened us with? None, sir. Intelligence believes it was just psychological warfare. Humans are known for making threats they cannot carry out. Zalthek felt satisfied. This was exactly what the Empire's xenobiologists had predicted. When humans were cornered, they would make lots of noise, but could not actually do much damage. It was just another example of their emotional nature overriding their logical thinking. What is our schedule for final cleanup operations? 48 hours, until all remaining human positions are eliminated. After that, this sector will be ready for colonization by loyal Empire species. Good. Send a message to High Command. Tell them the human problem will be completely solved ahead of schedule. But Webb and his team were not acting like a problem that was about to be solved. They worked with the focused intensity of people who knew they were humanity's last hope. Around them, modified human ships that looked like refugee vessels were being loaded with special equipment. Remember, Webb said to the ship captains who would carry out the plan, the Empire will not recognize the threat until it is too late. Their sensors will see you as fleeing survivors, nothing more. Captain Maria Santos, who had lost her entire family on Mars, checked her ship's special cargo. How many Empire worlds will we be able to hit? If everything works as planned, 47 core systems. Each destabilizer will trigger a stellar collapse that will destroy everything within 8 light years. The room fell silent. 47 systems meant hundreds of billions of alien lives. Entire civilizations would die. Santos spoke for all of them. They killed our children first. Webb nodded. The Empire had specifically targeted human schools, hospitals, and homes in their opening attacks. They had wanted to break human morale by killing the innocent first. Now they would learn what humans did when their innocent were murdered. The 72-hour countdown continued. The Empire prepared to finish their cleanup operation. But they still had no idea what humans could do when they stopped trying to fight fair and started trying to make everyone die together. Time was running out for both species. The 72 hours were almost over. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in what was left of the human command center, deep inside an asteroid that the Empire had not found yet. Around her, the last human military officers watched their screens and waited for her order. "All teams report ready," said Colonel Martinez, the last surviving officer from the Luna Defense Force. 43 ships are in position around Empire core worlds. Sarah looked at the galaxy map. Red dots showed where human ships waited, disguised as refugee vessels or damaged freighters. The Empire sensors showed them as harmless survivors trying to escape human space. The Empire fleet had even helped some of them with fuel and supplies, thinking they were showing mercy to a beaten enemy. "Dr. Webb, are the stellar stabilizers ready?" "All units are active and waiting for your command," Webb replied through the communication system. "Once we begin, there will be no stopping it. The Empire's sons will start dying one by one." Sarah closed her eyes for a moment. In a few minutes, she would give an order that would kill more beings than had ever died in a single day in the galaxy's history. Entire worlds full of families, children, people who had never heard of humans and had done nothing wrong except be born in the Empire. But then she remembered Earth. She remembered the videos of Empire soldiers laughing as they burned human schools. She remembered the Empire commander who had broadcast his speech about humans being a disease that needed to be cured. "All units," Sarah said into her microphone, "this is Admiral Chen. Begin wildfire protocol. Make them pay for our children." Across the galaxy, human ships that had been drifting silently near Empire suns suddenly came alive. Captain Santos was the first to reach her target, Zephyr Prime, home to 12 billion Empire citizens and one of their oldest colonies. "Beginning final approach to stellar core," Santos reported. Her ship was small and fast, built more like a missile than a vessel meant to carry people. Behind her, the planet Zephyr Prime hung in space like a blue and green jewel, beautiful and peaceful. The Empire patrol ships near the sun did not bother to stop her. Their sensors showed a damaged human freighter, probably trying to escape into the star, rather than be captured. They had seen other humans do this, choosing death over surrender. "Stella destabilizer is armed," Santos said, beginning insertion into solar core. Her ship dove toward the star's surface. The heat was incredible, but the ship's special shielding held. The Empire had built this technology to study stars, never imagining it could be used to kill them. At the same time, Governor Prime Zalthek was still orbiting Earth, preparing for the final assault on the remaining human positions. His communication officer suddenly looked up with confusion on his alien face. "Sir, we are getting strange readings from the Zephyr system." "What kind of readings?" "Massive quantum fluctuations from their star. It looks like the stellar fusion process is becoming unstable." Zalthek frowned. "Contact Zephyr Prime. Ask them what is happening." But before the message could be sent, Santos had reached the star's core. She spoke her final words into her radio. "This is for every human child who will never grow up. See you in hell." The stellar destabilizer activated. Deep inside the star, quantum reactions that had been stable for billions of years suddenly began to cascade. The star's core started to collapse, and when it did, it would explode with the power of 1 trillion nuclear weapons. "Sir," the communication officer shouted, "Zephyr Prime is reporting massive solar flares. Their star is going supernova." Zalthek stood up so fast his chair fell over. "That is impossible. Stars do not just explode." But even as he spoke, The light from Zephyr's dying sun was racing across space. In 8 minutes, that light would reach planets that had been safe for millions of years, and when it did, those worlds would burn. Across the galaxy, other human ships were reaching their targets. Captain Rodriguez guided his vessel into the core of Altair 7's sun. Captain Kim dove her ship into the heart of the star that warmed New Corinthia. Captain Thompson aimed his destabilizer at the giant red sun that provided light to 5 different Empire worlds. Each captain spoke their final words before the end. They named their dead children. They promised that the Empire would remember this day forever. On the Empire flagship, reports began flooding in from across their territory. Sir, we are getting emergency signals from 17 different systems. What kind of emergencies? Stellar collapse events. Stars are dying all across the Empire core. Zalthek felt something he had never experienced before in his long military career. Pure terror. How many systems are affected? The number keeps growing. 23 now. 31. Sir, our entire central region is reporting solar instabilities. For the first time, Zalthek began to understand what Admiral Chen had meant. Humans had not been building weapons to fight the Empire's ships. They had been building weapons to fight the Empire's suns. Get me a connection to High Command immediately. But High Command was busy dealing with panic across hundreds of worlds. Empire citizens were fleeing their planets as their suns began to die. Entire civilizations were evacuating to escape the expanding waves of destruction. On Earth, Admiral Chen watched the reports come in. Each confirmed stellar collapse meant billions of Empire lives lost, but also meant that humanity's sacrifice had meaning. Admiral, Colonel Martinez said, we are receiving surrender requests from 47 Empire governors. They want to negotiate. Too late for negotiations, Chen replied. They had 72 hours to leave human space peacefully. Now they get to watch their worlds burn the way they watched ours burn. Dr. Webb's voice came through the speakers. Sarah, you need to see this. The Empire fleet around Earth is pulling back. They are retreating to protect their core worlds. Sarah smiled, the first real smile she had shown in 3 years. Good. Let them run home and watch their children die. Let them feel what we felt. But she knew this was not victory. This was mutual destruction. When the stellar collapses were finished, hundreds of worlds would be dead zones. The galaxy would have scars that would never heal. All remaining units, continue the attack, she ordered. Do not stop until every Empire core world is ash. Make sure they understand that when you threaten humanity with extinction, we will take you with us. In the depths of space, human ships continued their deadly work. Each one carried the rage of a species that had been pushed too far. Each captain was a volunteer who had chosen to die so that the Empire would pay for their crimes. The galaxy was about to learn that humans meant exactly what they said. Their worlds would burn, just as promised. And in the growing darkness where stars used to shine, children of 100 species would learn to fear the name human for generations to come. The Empire's greatest warship, the Eternal Dominion, shook as another wave of refugees crashed against its docking bays. Governor Prime Zalthek watched through the viewports as civilian ships fled from the dying Altair system. Behind them, the star that had warmed 5 worlds for billions of years was collapsing into itself. How many have we lost? Zalthek asked, though he dreaded the answer. Commander Vextai looked up from his data screen, his alien face pale with shock. 37 systems completely destroyed. The stellar collapses are spreading faster than our evacuation efforts. We estimate 400 billion citizens are already dead. Zalthek felt his legs give way. He fell into his command chair and stared at the numbers. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, and they had never lost so many people in such a short time. Sir, We are receiving priority communications from High Command. The main screen flickered and showed the face of Supreme Commander Karthek, the Empire's highest military leader. Behind him, Zalthek could see other officials running around in panic. "Governor Prime, what is your status?" the Supreme Commander demanded. "We have evacuated the Altair system, but the stellar collapse is spreading to neighboring systems. The humans have weaponized stellar cores across our entire central region." "How is this possible? Our intelligence said they had no advanced technology." Zalthek looked at the reports again. "They used our own stellar manipulation technology against us. Every destabilizer was built from Empire science data that we made public. We gave them the tools to kill our sons." On the screen, the Supreme Commander's face changed. For the first time in his career, he looked afraid. "How many more systems are under threat?" he asked. "Our analysts believe they can hit any Empire world within 50 light-years of human space. That includes over 200 core systems." The communication went silent for a long moment. In that silence, they could hear the sound of escape pods launching from dying worlds. Families that had lived in the same cities for thousands of years were running for their lives. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, human ships continued their terrible work. Captain Williams guided her vessel toward the star that warmed New Sparta, one of the Empire's military training worlds. As her ship approached the stellar core, she could see the planet below. Beautiful white cities surrounded by green forests and blue oceans. "This is Captain Williams to any human survivors," she said into her radio. "I am about to avenge the children of Terra. Remember us." Her ship, painted with the names of the dead from humanity's colonies, disappeared into the star's nuclear fire. The stellar destabilizer began its work, and another sun started to die. At the same time, on the Empire capital world of Drakmor, civilians were packing their belongings and fleeing to the outer systems. The Empire's government was in complete chaos. Officials who had planned to celebrate humanity's destruction were now trying to save their own families. "We must negotiate with the humans," shouted Council Member Vexara. "We have to stop this madness." "Negotiate with what?" replied Defense Minister Karthok. "Our intelligence says they have maybe 3,000 people left alive." "How do you negotiate with dead people who are using their last breaths to kill your children?" Supreme Commander Karthik slammed his fist on the table. "I do not care if we have to search every rock in space. Find these humans and stop them." But finding the humans was impossible. The remaining ships were spread across the galaxy, each one flying alone toward a different Empire world. They used no communication systems that could be tracked. They followed no patterns that could be predicted. Each captain had one target and one mission: make the Empire's star die. Captain Lopez was approaching the Vega system, home to the Empire's largest university. As his ship passed the outer planets, he could see students being evacuated from the campus worlds. Young aliens who had been studying art and science and philosophy were running for their lives. For a moment, Lopez felt doubt. These were not soldiers. They were not the ones who had ordered the attack on humanity. They were just children, trying to learn about the universe. Then he remembered his own daughter, who had been studying to be a teacher when the Empire ships came to Luna Colony. She had been in a classroom full of human children when the bombs fell. The Empire had not cared about innocent humans. Now he would not care about innocent aliens. "For Maria," he said, naming his dead daughter. "For all the human children who will never graduate." His ship dove into Vega's core, and another star began its death spiral. Back on the Eternal Dominion, Zalthek was receiving reports from fleeing civilians. The stories were all the same: human ships appearing near their suns, disappearing into the stellar cores, and then the stars beginning to collapse. "They are not trying to survive this," Zalthek said to his staff. "They are trying to take us with them." "Sir, what kind of species does this? What kind of people choose to die just to kill their enemies? Zalthek thought about the intelligence reports on humans. The Empire's scientists had studied human history and found it full of violence and war. But they had missed something important. They had not understood that humans would rather die fighting than live as slaves. "We never fought humans before," Zalthek said. "We fought their military, we fought their government, but now we are fighting human parents who watch their children die. We are fighting humans who have nothing left to lose and everything to avenge." A new report came in from the outer regions. "Sir, the Procyon system is reporting solar instabilities. That is 68 light-years from human space. How did they get ships that far out?" Zalthek realized the truth. While we thought we were hunting down the last survivors, they were positioning attack ships throughout our territory. On his command screen, a map of the galaxy showed the growing pattern of destruction. Red zones marked dead systems where stars had collapsed. Yellow zones showed systems under threat. The pattern was spreading like a disease across the Empire's core worlds. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from Admiral Chen." The screen flickered, showing Sarah Chen's scarred face. Behind her, the last human command center was clearly under attack. Smoke filled the air, and explosions could be heard in the distance. "Governor Prime," Sarah said, "I see you are beginning to understand our message. Admiral, this has gone far enough. You are committing genocide against billions of innocent people." Sarah's expression did not change. "You committed genocide against us first. You started this war by trying to wipe out every human in the galaxy. Now you get to see what that feels like. We can negotiate. We can make peace. The time for peace was 72 hours ago. Now you get to watch your worlds burn, just like you made us watch ours burn." The transmission ended. Around Zalthek, his staff worked frantically to coordinate evacuations and rescue operations. But they all knew it was hopeless. Humans had turned the galaxy's own stars into weapons, and there was no defense against such an attack. In the growing darkness where the Empire's suns used to shine, millions of refugee ships fled toward the outer regions. Behind them, the core systems of their civilization collapsed into fire and shadow. The humans had kept their promise. The Empire's worlds were burning, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after the stars began to die, the war was over. Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the ruins of what had once been Geneva. The city was now a field of glass that reflected the pale sunlight. But human engineers were already working to build something new on top of the old. Around her, representatives from both species gathered to sign the treaty that would end the killing. Governor Prime Zalthek looked older than he had before the war. His 4 eyes were tired, and his hands shook slightly as he reviewed the treaty documents. Beside him stood the few other Empire leaders who had survived the chaos of the past 6 months. "The final count?" Sarah asked Dr. Webb, who had also survived to see this day. 47 Empire core systems destroyed. The stellar collapses took out everything within 8 light-years of each target sun. We estimate 2.7 trillion Empire citizens died in the flames. The number was so large, it was hard to understand, but she felt no satisfaction from it. Revenge had been served, but it tasted like ashes in her mouth. And human casualties. Final count is 8.2 billion dead, 96% of our species. Earth's population is down to maybe 50 million survivors, scattered across the remaining colonies. The Empire representative, Minister Karthok, spoke up. "Admiral Chen, our government accepts your terms. All Empire forces will withdraw from former human territory. We will pay reparations for the rebuilding of your worlds. We will recognize human sovereignty over all systems within 100 light-years of Sol." Sarah looked at him. "And in exchange, the stellar attacks stop?" "Yes, no more stars will die," but both sides knew the truth. There were no more human attack ships left. Every volunteer pilot who had carried a stellar destabilizer had died completing their mission. Humanity had fired all its bullets in one massive strike that had brought the Empire to its knees. The signing ceremony was held on the glass field that had once been Geneva's city center. Representatives from other galactic species watched through their telescopes and communication arrays. The entire galaxy had followed this war, and everyone wanted to see how it would end. Supreme Commander Kartek signed first, his alien handwriting shaky with age and stress. By this treaty, the Galactic Empire formally recognizes the Terran Federation as a sovereign power, and agrees to all terms of reparations and territorial boundaries. Sarah took the pen, a simple writing tool that seemed too small for such an important moment. As she signed her name, she thought about all the people who would never see this day: her daughter who had died in the first attack, her husband who had been vaporized defending their home, the billions of humans who had died believing their species was finished. By this treaty, Sarah said, humanity agrees to end our stellar warfare campaign and begin the long process of rebuilding our civilization. The signing was finished. Around them, the few human survivors and Empire representatives shook hands awkwardly. It was not a celebration. Too many people had died for that. It was just the end of the killing. Later, as the Empire ships prepared to leave the Sol system forever, Zalthek approached Sarah for a private conversation. "Admiral, I have to ask you something," he said. "How did you do it? How did a species with such simple technology manage to threaten our entire civilization?" Sarah thought about the question. "You never understood humans very well. You studied our military and our government, but you never studied what we become when we have nothing left to lose. But the technology, the stellar destabilizers, are far beyond human science." "You gave us the technology," Sarah replied. "Your own scientific databases contained everything we needed to know. You were so proud of your achievements that you shared them with the galaxy. We just used your pride against you." Zalthek was quiet for a moment. "And if we had not attacked you first? If we had tried to make peace instead of war?" Sarah looked up at the sky, where the Empire fleet was preparing to jump to hyperspace. Then those 2 trillion Empire citizens would still be alive. And so would 8 billion humans. We could have been allies instead of enemies. Do you regret what happened? Sarah considered the question. I regret that it was necessary, but I do not regret doing it. You tried to wipe out my species. We made sure you would never try that again. The Empire ships disappeared into hyperspace, leaving the Sol system quiet for the first time in 3 years. Human survivors began the long work of rebuilding their civilization from almost nothing. In the years that followed, the galaxy changed. The dark zones where Empire stars had died became forbidden areas that no ship would enter. Parents of many species would point to those empty patches of sky and tell their children about the humans who had turned suns into weapons. The Empire still existed, but it was smaller and more careful. They ruled their remaining worlds with less arrogance, always remembering that somewhere in the galaxy lived a species that had proven they could make stars die. Humanity grew slowly. The few survivors had many children, and human colonies spread to new worlds. But they were different than they had been before the war. Every human child learned about the day their species had almost died, and about the terrible choice their ancestors had made to take their enemies with them. Dr. Webb became the first president of the rebuilt Terran Federation. In his inauguration speech, he said, "We must never forget what happened here. We must never forget that when pushed to the edge of extinction, humans chose to jump and drag their enemies down with them." The treaty was called the Treaty of Ashes, and its main agreement was simple. Humans would be left alone, and in exchange, the galaxy's stars would be safe. But everyone knew the real agreement was deeper than that. It was an understanding that had been written in the fire of dying suns. Never push humans so far that they have nothing left to lose, because they will take you with them into the dark. Years later, alien children would look up at the night sky and see the empty spaces where stars used to shine. Their parents would tell them stories about the humans who had kept their promise. "Your worlds will burn," the humans had said, and they had meant every word. The galaxy remembered. In the cold spaces between stars, in the darkness where whole solar systems had once existed, the universe itself had become a monument to human stubbornness. It was a reminder that some species, when faced with extinction, would choose to make extinction mutual. The stars bore witness to the truth every species learned that day. When you threaten to destroy humanity, you had better make sure you finish the job. Because if you leave even a few humans alive, they will find a way to make you regret it. And in that dark galaxy, where children learned to fear the empty sky, humanity slowly rebuilt itself. They were smaller now, fewer in number, but they were respected in a way they had never been